Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for the 30 of y'all that woke
Yeah,
up so
joining us.
early. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cheryl, I just muted you. Is that okay? Yeah. So, yeah, thanks everyone for coming down. I know some of y'all have arrived for this conference yesterday and stayed until really, really late. So, thanks for doing that. It's quite a feat to stay up until like 3 a.m. and then wake up early,
Oh.
at this time to join us for this really, really interesting panel. So yesterday, as part of the networking conversations, I know a lot of students or grads were asking about alternatives or like career choices in the games industry. And this is the perfect panel for it. So this panel is titled Surviving Outside of AAA in Singapore, Outside of the Corporations and MNCs. So first up, we have Sean Toh from Battle Brew Productions. They did all the Battle Sky Brigade series. He's the CEO of Battle Brew Productions, followed by Zitian, who's the COO and co-founder at Lionfish Studios, and Kim Naylor, co-founder at Landshark Games. And finally, we have Edmund Ching, a solo indie developer at Unexpected Developments. So, I think Sean, you take it away.
Okay, hi. Good morning. So I'm not quite sure how many of us are morning people. Welcome to the panel about surviving outside of AAA in Singapore. How about we go like, we had really short introductions earlier, but let's go into a little bit of who we are, how long we've been doing this, and what exactly we do, as in what our studios do, because all our studios are a little bit different. So I myself, Battle Brew Productions, has been around for about 4 years now. But before that, my team and I mostly were at AAA companies. I was from Gumi Asia. My co-founder Ben is from Ubisoft. We've got designers from Ubisoft as well. A lot of us were classmates a long time ago at DigiPen. Let's just go around. Edmund first.
Oh, okay. Morning, everyone. I haven't been doing public speaking for a very long time, so kind of nervous. So don't mind me if I'm, don't mind me if I'm speaking a little incoherently. I'm a solo dev. I've been working on mobile games since 2010. I never started my own studio, so actually I've joined various startup studios to develop games. So daytime, I'm a game programmer, coding games for companies. And after work, I would write my own games. Yeah, I did that for several years, from 2010 up to like 2015, 2016, around then. That's when I went full-time indie, go solo, because I felt I was really getting old. I should really do what I want. Yeah, so I went solo to develop my own games. Kind of like, yeah, that's where I am right now. Just making my own games. I'm a one-man team. So all my games are like small, mobile, casual titles.
Yeah. Okay, Zitian?
Yeah, hi. I'm Zitian. So I started my studio in 2014 with my business partner. I studied games for poly and uni. And after graduation, right, I thought it was a good idea to come out to start my own studio because I thought I was equipped. And the climate seems correct. Then I started this game studio. We make games from 2014 to 2016. We launched like, I think, two or three mobile titles before we transit into helping, like finding clients and doing, there's a lot of terms for it. So you can call it contract work, you can call it work for hire. And the nature of the work that we do is solve clients' problems using gamification or some sort of like a gamified experience. I'll get into the details later. So that's what we do at Lionfish Studios. We have about 10 staff right now. Yeah.
Kim?
Hi, morning. My name is Kim. I'm the co-founder and the creative lead for Landshark Games. So Landshark Games has been around for about 2010. I started the so-called the studio with my husband, Paul, and he's the founder and tech director for the studio. So before that, technically we are kind of like like admin, solo developer. And I mean, before that, we have careers as well. Paul and I had about like maybe 10 years or so of career behind us before we started this. Now, mostly the decision is a kind of a lifestyle change, lifestyle choices kind of decision for us to start our own studio. So we had about like maybe few years, maybe three years of kind of solo indie, whereby we just is pretty much Paul and I. So now at 2020, we have about 8 staff, and some are full-time, some are outsourced. So we've made Aviator on Facebook, we've made Zenkoi, hopefully everybody recognizes that, but on Zenkoi we are on mobile, and now we are on Zenkoi 2 now, and we are working on our new game, hopefully cross fingers and toes. But for myself, my skill set is in visual arts and visual design, and I was kind of a web consultant as well. So was a web designer, web consultant, did a whole bunch of stint with other startups and MNCs as well, and EA as well. So those are my experience behind me. And then here we are at 2020, and I have 2 children.
Okay, awesome. Let's go a little bit into, I mean, you talked a little bit about that, but how did you start or get into the games industry? A little bit more detail on that. Kim, why don't we just continue from there?
Yeah, sure. How do I get in the game industry? Well, I've always been interested in games, but I play a lot of games, albeit a certain, kind of type of game I play. But ultimately, I think after my graduation from school in the US, I was interning, but not for games. And through a few years of stint, I landed myself a job at EA. And I was there for about 4 years. And this EA at Redwood Shores in San Francisco. So I was actually not in the games development team, but I was actually on their online team. That means we are responsible, our team is responsible for disseminating some of the game assets that are from the portfolio of EA games. So that was very exciting and fun to be. Now at the MNCs, it's a large organization. It has its perks and it has its downside too. I mean, I went through about maybe about 3 layoffs as well during the 4 years that I was there. Then otherwise, I mean, moving on ahead, fast forward, we move out of the Bay Area, and we are deciding to, have a little family, and we moved to Auckland. That's for another 4 years. So during that time, Paul and I too was tinkering with some of our ideas that we have. Paul and I have kind of like complementary skill sets. So we decided to kind of start a project. So that didn't work out. And then 4 years later, when we came back to Singapore, we found ourselves at similar life choice again. What shall we do? And we started our little project. So our little project was Aviator, and Aviator became kind of a big project in a way, and kind of one thing led to another. So in a way, I don't know, stumble upon game development. But game development itself is not much different from what I have been doing anyway, in terms of consulting with clients on big, huge development online projects as well. So some of that sensibility is brought through, and also making games and having perspective of games from another perspective, not just solely in that games industry outlook, I think is kind of exciting for me to bring that perspective as well. So yeah, that's my story.
Okay, awesome. Zitian, how about you?
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to long story a bit. So I started gaming when I was very young, maybe 4 or something. I started with a pirated NES. I guess that's like Asian kids of my age will understand. Then I just never stopped gaming all the way, like secondary school, then there was this like fork path, right? Whether I should go JC or poly, right? And I was so into the idea of going JC was correct. And I only picked 2 choices for my admission. And the rest was like filled in by my mom because like she was like, "Are you sure that you will get into the JC that you want?" Like, sure. I got it. But I didn't. So I actually landed in games design in Singapore Poly because my mom is like, okay, you play so much games, I better fill in the rest of the blanks for you, right? In some IT related course so that you don't fall all the way into like no school by the end of it, end of O levels. So fortunately or unfortunately, I went to games design in Singapore Poly. I was the first batch. And actually through my gaming hobby life, I also like to draw. And unknowingly, I also pick up a lot of game design skills. So so that's my kind of like my skill set. So game designer and 2D artist. In Poly, that's where I met like some of my like-minded friends. Like I didn't know that like there were so many gamers out there because in schools, right, especially like in Singapore's context, right, gaming was kind of like a negative thing. You can't really find all these friends until you go Poly, right? Then you see all the like-minded people are together. And that's why we have the discussion that we should make our own games, like become kind of a thing, right? And all these friends move on with me through army and, okay, not through army, but like, you know, that period. Then after that, we all end up at Japan. And the conversation just continued, right? So after graduation, it's time to finally realize our dreams. We thought we were ready, we were being equipped with the skills, and there was a lot of narrative in the industry that the government is giving support, the industry is giving support, you should like start to do your own stuff. Yeah, that's how I kind of entered the industry. I'm still at my first and only job. So if there's anything else, yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of like my story.
Interesting. Edmund?
Oh, okay. Yeah, me, let's see. I guess just like most of us, I'm very into gaming since a very young age. So at some point I was wondering how I could get into the game industry, but I had no link or exposure. Okay, okay. By the time I finished my tertiary studies, that was in 2007, around then. I have no idea that Singapore even had a game industry. You know, 07, Digipen wasn't even set up yet in Singapore. So I really have no idea how to get into this industry. Then around in 09, yeah, 09, I came across this exhibition where there's a lot of booth for various causes supported by WSQ, our government. Then I came across this one game development 1 year full-time course. Yeah, so I was reading through the marketing material, and I saw like the course included an internship program with local games and media companies. So I was like, yeah, maybe this is how I can get myself into the game industry. Yeah, so I signed up, finished the course, and got myself an internship in a local mobile game development studio. Yeah, so this is how I got in, and that's how I carry on. The rest is history.
Okay, awesome. For myself, as mentioned, I started off, I was in Digipen, so there was a sort of conversion course back then to basically get into Ubisoft. I ended up in Japanese games companies instead of Ubisoft because I thought back then I sort of thought mobile was the future. Was sort of half right, went through some interesting and stressful times, learned a lot, burnt out at one point. And I think eventually realized I wanted more control, which is why I started Battle Brew. Control creatively and financially. So I guess that segues into the next question, which is why you're not currently AAA. Okay, I mean, strange question for a couple of you. So maybe Kim again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think life choices is definitely a big push factor. That why I'm not in AAA. But ultimately, I think there's some sacrifice you have to make if you want to do the thing you want to do. So ultimately, if for you guys who just graduated, maybe some of you in different situations where money is not an issue, you don't need to pay rent, you don't have dependents. So then the decision to be a solo indie is a lot easier because your overheads are low. But for myself, when we got into when I got into games development itself, I already have a child. I have, I have dependent, and I have mortgage to pay. All those things ultimately drives your decision. But I mean, it's counterintuitive. Why not? Be hired full time somewhere else. But yeah, again, the freedom of choice to make a living for yourself. Making those sacrifices. I mean, I think we have talked about it before. We put in our savings that we did for that last 10 years or 5 years of working full time for somebody else. So we did that. Ate into our savings just to see whether our little project will pan out. But of course, while we were doing our little project, ultimately I was still working as a contractor. So the risk really is for you to manage and figure out, as be it a student, an individual who's kind of still working at a full-time job or anything like that. So personally, it's really a life choice option for me. That's the top. Financial choice. We are right now. We are sustainable. So I mean, we'll be happy for a while. A few years down the line, maybe you've asked me the same question, it may not be the same, depending on what happens to the company. But otherwise, it is an exciting journey. It is a journey there's no formula. It's really about what you make it out of your choices, that you either stick to it or you review it and move on. So that's my point of view.
Okay. Edmund first.
Oh yeah. Okay. Actually, so just to continue from my my earlier response. So after the course, I joined like a startup studio to develop mobile games. Actually, after that, eventually I went through like 3 different startup studios, working as a game programmer mainly. And so at some point or another, I definitely did apply for jobs in some AAA company. Like, no, I'm not gonna mention the company name, but I did apply to the AAA companies that have a set up shop in Singapore. Yeah, but I was never hired, so I could give a lot of reasons or excuses, but generally it boils down to, I think I'm just not good enough. Yeah, see. So all this just although I was working as a game programmer, but I'm into the whole development of games. So I'm like a solo guy. So I'm very well-rounded in a sense that I can code a game from nothing to release. I barely have enough design skills, but enough for me to create my own art assets to put in my game and get it published and all that sort of things. But I'm a jack of most trade, master of none. And I feel like when AAA company try hire people, they are probably looking for the best. See, so I tried applying for a client engineer job, but definitely if a AAA company is looking for a programmer, they want like, you need to know your stuff. You need to know all the very very programming techie stuff, which I'm just not that good, you see. So maybe that's why I'm not in the AAA. I just wasn't hired. So yeah, eventually I just went on and carry on developing my own stuff, and by the time I went full-time indie, I realized I have a lot more control over my own projects, my own time. Yeah. So wanted to keep it that way.
Okay, Zitian.
Continue from my story, right? Like, I always want to make your own games. That's, I think, kind of the narrative that most of our gamers grew up with. Like, you play enough, then you will have ideas of your own. Then you want to pick up skills to make your own. And hence, I think that's why I'm not in AAA. When I was graduated, I started this studio, right? That was a very crazy idea. Now thinking back, not totally equipped to do this, definitely, because we only have like development skills and none of the other ingredients needed to start a indie studio, right? So yeah, actually looking back, I was thinking like maybe AAA might have be a decent choice to pick up some of the other skills that needed to do your own business. Yeah, but like actually, I already answered the question, right? Since I only got one and only job, and yeah, that was like living the dream, right? That's why I'm now in AAA. I don't just be part of the game, but I want to be making the whole game. Yeah, that's my view.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Was there anything else there?
Nah, it's a simple question for me actually.
Well, if you had the chance, would you? I mean, if you offered a job in AAA, would you take it right now?
That really depends. Okay, so I will answer it in a very moderated way. So, as much as possible, I would wish that I would never have to quit my current job and look for another job. Yeah, that means I'm successful as my being my own studio, right? But definitely, I see the merits of going to AAA. From a macro perspective, I think in general, Singapore industry, right, we have a lot of students that are actually equipped with good development skills and basically the hard skills, right? But to move the industry forward, I think more people should join established companies such as AAA to pick up skills that is of the next level, right? Be it management, business, strategy, kind of thing, right? Then I think we can move on as an industry. So if let's say I'm offered a job there, right? I would wish I will go beyond as a developer, and AAA companies have to see the value in me as well. That I have a microcosmic view of like what it takes to make a game, but albeit with a smaller team and limited resources. And if we mutually can see the benefits of having me being there and me learning from them, right? I think I will pick up the offer definitely, but really have to see if I can leave this company and what is the arrangement and whether it works out for both of us.
Okay, Edmund, what about yourself?
Me? Yeah, we were just talking about like adulting. Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I'm adulting. I've got things to pay for and people to take care of. So the answer to that question is actually depends. You know, what kind of role will I be offered, the pay, and probably more importantly is like the work-life balance, which I don't know in the game industry, not very well known for work-life balance. Yeah, so yeah, it depends.
Okay, Kim. So I mean, you were an EA at one point, right?
Yep.
Would you, example, go back, or would you say I wouldn't even consider it?
With them, if they, you know, somehow we sit as a whole entity in their nice EA building, that would be good. I mean, why not? Yeah, I think the main pain points for us is definitely resource, right? So to be bought by a big company, or that will be more like that kind of transition I would look at, but not just myself. So I think as a team, we will benefit being nimble and team that you know take see games from a different perspective in a bigger outfit. That I think that will be more ideal of a easier choice for me to make to move back into so-called AAA, because yeah, that's true. I mean, from Zitian's point of view, right? So he was saying that, you know, if you have more resources for, you know, HR, for well, finances, of course, but for you know, other teams like legal, even legal, having a legal in-house is always nice. Having support, QA and all that, you know, all in one house, that's always nice. But ultimately, I think it'll be an easier choice if to move back to AAA if it's that kind of scenario for me. not so much
Okay.
as individual. Yeah.
Tell us about some of the benefits of doing what you do now,
Myself?
as an indie, as separate from AAA.
Benefits, I think definitely the freedom of creative, choices, the creative decisions we make, definitely that's a big plus. So we can can decide to make games of any kind. We don't have to be pushed to measure everything before we launch a game, to make sure that it makes money. But of course, having said that, you have to be realistic too. So the balance of that, ultimately having the creative freedom is a top top benefit. Create freedom of your time. Of course, that is that double-edged sword. You could, your time at work could blend into your family time. When we first started out, is like, no night. I'm still working at this hour in the morning, or supporting players in the morning, on Saturday, right? So, yeah, it's the benefit definitely outweighs for me at this point in my life. Later on, I don't know. Maybe it might be different. But I think right now, definitely we've been in this for 10 years. So the grind is definitely there, right? For anybody who's been in the same place for 10 years. But mostly it's the creative freedom, I think, that you do make sure that you keep an eye on that, and that that holds true to what you want to do.
Okay, awesome. Edmund, tell us about some of the advantages and benefits of doing what you do now.
Yeah, being a solo dev, I think it should be pretty similar to what Zitian mentioned earlier for starting his own company. You get a lot of control, creative control over the kind of games you want to make, how you want to make them. Yeah, and for me, who comes from being an employee, I feel a lot more freedom because I don't have a boss to answer to. I don't have like a 9 to 5 thing. Yeah, so yeah, but definitely I had to be responsible for my freedom, how I make use of all my time. And it forces me out of my comfort zone to really go out and connect with people, who I choose to connect with and all that. Doing what I do, I got to know a lot of people, speak to a lot of people, which I probably wouldn't if I was just like a employee of a company, that kind of thing.
Zitian?
Pretty much that.
Benefits. I think personally, I would think that this is a very good growth opportunity. I think most of us went through the MOE's education, always thinking that there'll be someone to guide us, someone to judge us, like there's a correct answer everywhere. But once I started doing things on my own, right, I realized there is no right answer. Like the right answer is the one that you pick and you go through with it, and you didn't die from it. That's kind of the right thing to do. It also trains like me to be more tenacious. Like actually, there's not like the one single setback that can destroy your life. Of course, there are like extremely stupid things, but in general, I think having go through failures and setbacks and to learn from it, it's how you improve as a person and to grow from it. Then on the more macro level, I see the benefit of what I do, right, is to bring the things that we love, right, games, all the crafts, all the skill set, to show to people outside of gaming industry. So that's basically what we do now, right? We make products for clients that resembles games, delivering an experience, but in their own like domain. So I think in the long run, I hope like by doing this, more people get to see our games. It's not just like fun and laughter, and there's like some seriousness to it. And people will begin to respect us as an industry, that we can create value. And the work we do is actually very, very tough, and not like just like, oh, I want this change tomorrow, like just being unrealistic, right? So by working with like clients long enough, I hopefully will change the entire industry brand and the outside perception of us. So that's something I hope there's a benefit for the rest of us.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about the need to hustle and client expectations, that sort of thing, and that's, I guess, specific to your current life. Running a small studio does outsource. Are there any other challenges that you face that you think might be unique to your situation or outside of AAA?
Okay, so I didn't really go AAA, right? So I can't really say for that. So what I do feel that the challenges that I face is that really we started with like 0 resources. So yeah, everything that we can do is by our own hands, right? And to have people to believe in us is a very daunting task. Like we have no track record, we never do anything before. We don't even believe in ourselves. So to get that first ever contract to do something to make money as an adult, right? Wow, that was like, I forgot how it went, but when we got it, it's like, we don't know whether we'll get it, but once we get it, right, we also don't know how to do the job. That's how much struggle that we went through. Yeah, so that's the first job. Then it gets better over time. Like you build a portfolio, you become more confident of your skills, and also in time, right, you grow resources. Then with the resources, you can reinvest in your company, like buying equipment, hire more staff, and also like over a few generations, you will have better and better talents working with you, and also a repertoire of knowledge and experience and clientele that can. It is a build up, so that's one of the challenges we face, like having no resources and experience. Then, yeah, I think that is the kind of the major ones that we face. And another being that, yeah, following to my previous answer, right? There's no one to guide us. Like we are controlling our own destiny, right? And the stress is actually quite high when in times like things are not going that smoothly. Yeah, that's it.
Edmund?
Oh yeah, challenges as a solo dad. I guess, like I mentioned earlier, I need to be very responsible on how to make use of all my freedom. So, and yeah, then the other thing is, one-man team. I have to do everything on my own with very limited budget. So the game development time would take a little longer than compared to if you have a team and all that. Yeah. So I usually have to like scope down all my game designs and all that. And the other thing would definitely be not all games gonna make money. So I definitely had to build myself an alternate source of income. So I had to like go out to find like contract work, freelance project and all that. Yeah. So yeah, all these are challenges to me because I'm not like super fantastic at networking and try to connect with people and all that. Yeah. So not a lot of jobs would come my way, especially when I'm like a one-man team. Usually people will outsource project to probably like a team or a company and all that. Yeah. So alternate source of revenue income is a challenge for me. Yeah. So, but once all those are like settled, once you build a consistent source of projects and all that, you sort out all your time, it gets better. Yeah.
Okay, Kim.
So yeah, so just now I mentioned that creative freedom is one of the benefits. Making decisions, your key decisions yourself as well, is one of benefits, but it's also in a way a downside because before, in a AAA company, you have to go ask somebody, is that cool? Is that good? Can we move ahead with it? There are many stakeholders that you can get your decisions from, but here you are pretty much on your own. The decisions you make, you have to make sure that you align it with your philosophy or whatnot before you say yes or no to that. So that is a bit scary because as a solo, maybe definitely those decisions is yours and your own. But then as you grow a team, whatever decision you make, also impedes on how you grow the company, how what happens to the company. You have to sustain a team of however, right, 5, 10. So those decisions become a bit scary because whatever decisions you make is going to affect the whole team as well. So that's, I would say, I mean, it's not a downside, but it is somewhat of a scary side of that making decision part of things as a solo or as a small team leader, right? Then next is, I think, multitasking. I used to be kind of quite comfortable with multitasking. But now, as you know, 10 years down the road, it's a little much. It gets a little much when your roles have so many touch points and you're constantly picking up a lot of things along the way as well, and constantly learning about so many different things in different areas that you're not familiar with. So you constantly feel like you're, maybe you're drowning a little bit, but otherwise the joy of learning these new things as you grow, it's quite amazing. But at the same time, you are also expected to multitask. So if you are not a good multitasker or don't feel comfortable multitasking, that might become something that is a bit daunting. So I would say a downside if you're not a good multitasker. But being a business owner is constantly, I mean, Sean, it's constant.
That's tough.
Pulling you many ways. So, some of the downside, like now I don't really do a lot of art, so-called. I try to find time, but I find I'm more tired than I have time. So those are the kind of like, adulting stuff you do that you have to kind of, the reality sets in a little bit. So yeah, multitasking is one of those tricky skills that you kind of have to keep a check and balance on. Yep.
Oh, definitely. So, I think if we look at, say, studio profile, I think Kim's situation and my situation are a bit more similar. So we're both leading small studios. What's different for me, definitely, again, as a lot of people, I mean, the panel here has reiterated, is mostly, I think, the lack of resources. You can't depend on an external structure as much. So when we talk about, legal, HR, all the things that you took for granted, suddenly you have to do. You're the janitor, you're the producer.
Yeah.
You have to do your main technical job, be it art or design or programming, but you also have to do so much housekeeping. But I think with that also comes a sense of pride and ownership. So I can definitely empathize with a lot of what has been said. Same struggles, and a lot of things that I would have taken for granted previously in the big companies.
Company, everything's taken care of.
Yeah, suddenly I'm the one doing all of it.
Totally
get it. Totally get it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the career path of someone following in your footsteps. I'd like to hear a little bit about both on a personal thing and also maybe about how it might have differed from, say, someone in a similar role in a large company. Let's go with Kim first, and then we'll go to Zitian and Edmund.
Okay, so I guess right from the beginning, I've always loved art, and I doodle a lot as a kid, and math actually as well. I do, even though I hate doing homework, but actually math and art was one of the things I excel in. So I mean, as I look back in my path, right, I'm lucky that my parents didn't push me to do what they want me to do. Ultimately, I had my quiet stance, and I say, I'm not gonna get A's for science or commerce or whatnot, economics, but at least I'm gonna pursue this. And I think along the way, the quiet support of my family, that I managed to get to Temasek Poly, which is then offered an art program or visual arts program. one of the earlier ones. So I managed to get a place there. And then after that, if some affiliation with schools outside of Singapore, managed to get a place in a school in San Francisco. So, you know, my family pool, we're not well-to-do. My family pool enough money for me to go overseas for 2 years. And then from there, I mean, pretty much independently, you start earning your keeps, right? Like you do jobs, you do internships, you after that move on to small businesses, then on to MNC. So ultimately, it's keeping away, keeping and in a way keep an eye on your interests in your career. So the choice led me to ultimately EA at the end of my stint in the US. But after that, even outside of that, as I think for some of you guys, you know, thinking of a family, moving on with your lives, in terms of, you know, time, wait for no man, no woman. You know, you have kids and you make certain life choices. Then your decision is, where do you put yourself? What do you do? Those kind of decisions at any point in time will, if you keep focused and keep your interests there, the decisions you make will still be aligned with that. So I think ultimately along the way throughout the years, I think I have quite a lot of years ahead of you guys, is that you keep track of what your interest is. You know, keep going at it. You don't have to be constantly doing small projects, but that is of your interest. You know, my interest is in music too, and all that. That you still hold true. You keep that aligned with your ultimate creative life. You know, I think leading a creative life is a more important choice than, you know, anything else. I think for myself. So yeah, and then ultimately, you know, for me now, I'm, you know, with a small team, and doing the things I love, albeit a bit daunting. It's good. I think, you know, the strive has to be there. You just have to persevere and make sure that you get through and see yourself through that, staying focused. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Zutian?
How do I put it? Like, I wouldn't say this is actually like a career path, but just a career. And as you charted deeper into the woods, right, and you chop down the trees and you make your own path. I think it's what I've been through. I really want to say that how the advice that someone pick my footsteps, right, is that if you want to start your own company, right, wow, don't do it. Yeah, I was in it because I was kind of naive. I mean, like, same goes for most of us here, right? When we aren't really equipped with the knowledge of being adults, but just the fun and games part and some skills that you thought you can conquer the world. I think it's a good kind of energy to have in our 20+, but once you set it as a career, there's really a strong commitment to it. Because when I started like this path, there are many like-minded friends that also started their own studio, but they didn't continue because it was really, really, really stressful. And I think we got lucky that we kind of like pivoted a bit, right? We managed to like not just do commercial games, but also do client projects to make sure we learn what the world wants rather than what we want. There's a kind of like a hard lesson, right? Like how when we deal with clients, I can't believe that the world actually needs this, but oh wow, it pays. So let's move on. And if I were to set some projection for my career, I would say that personally, I am growing out being a developer, so I'm not doing much of the art and design. I'm slowly handing over to my staff because I think as the industry progresses, I think we should really let people who are more talented to do the work they can, and for people like me, right, who are studying in the management role, right, we should empower them. We should give them the experience that we have and make them a better developer than you are. so that we can create better products. So that's like kind of a personal career side. So as a studio level, so we started with games, like purely commercial games, and that didn't work out really well for us. Hence, we pivoted to doing work for hire for now. But then as a company career path, I guess, is if that's something, it's definitely you want to go back to games, but we will still have this portion of the operation, right, is to serve our clients' needs, to firstly bring income and also keep track of like what is out there outside of the games industry, what are the needs of the world. Then that's where we can provide like a value. And with any surplus, right, we'll definitely come back to games. And because that's where the passion is, and that's how we started. Yeah, that's kind of like the advice I would give to guys following my footsteps.
Okay.
Don't follow.
Well, yeah, running your own business is tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Edmund.
Oh yeah. So I still have no idea how I'm gonna answer this question. But anyway, let's say if you're gonna join this industry and you're not as confident in starting your own studio, you could be like me. You could just join some other studios companies as a employee of some kind, to go through it, and maybe outside of office hours, if you want to have more creative control to build your own games, outside of office hours, you could develop your own projects if you're willing to sacrifice the time. Yeah. Then down the road, when you're more confident, when you're more ready, you could set out to aim to really build your own studio, form your own team, to go indie on your own. Yeah, I guess people like Sean or even Desmond from Gentle Bro, that's pretty much the path they gone. They work for companies, well-established companies, learn a lot of stuff, then go out to do their own things. Yeah. So for me, unfortunately, yeah, I go through all the small companies. Yeah, so I didn't really pick up very, very constructive wisdom. So yeah, I don't really have very good advice to give. Then the other thing would be probably if you're never gonna intend to start your own company, if you feel like you're not like a leader kind of person, you're just but you do have a certain position in a game development company that you aspire to be, you might want to like work towards that from a very early point. If you okay, this is the mistake I made when I was young. I wanted to be a game designer, but back then I have a very backwards thinking. I'm thinking like game designer is like a very high position in a game company, so I should start low. So I should go in as a programmer. That's how I ended up with like, I know, don't give me that look. Yeah, but that was like a very, very old mindset. I don't have people to share all this kind of wisdom with me. Back then I had like no connections to people in the game industry. So this is all just my own thinking. Yeah, so that's how I ended up with like so many years of work experience as a game programmer, with no track record as a management or game designing, and that's how I couldn't really get myself a job as a game designer in many companies. Yeah, so if there's a position you aim that you aspire to fill, get trained for it, get educated for it, get certified for it, as early as possible while you are still young and have the time to do those stuff.
Quick add-on. Actually, programmers usually are paid way more than the designers. I'll just say this.
Yeah, not like I know. I that's why I'm saying I had a very backward thinking, and I had no information of how the game industry worked back then. So I was thinking like, oh, there's like game designers are like the managers of company, programmers are like the low staff.
Okay. I think Cheryl is signaling it's time. Yes, Cheryl?
Yes, yes. It's yeah, we are open up for questions. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type in chat. So in the meantime, we currently have 3 questions. Thanks all the panelists, by the way, and thanks Sean. I think y'all come from very, very unique perspectives, right? With Kim and Sean running their own indie studios, Edmund running as a solo hobbyist dev, and Zitian running Lionfish as a service provider for games. So I think they're all very different paths. So okay, so the first question from Yongbin, right, is how do indie studios attract good talent into the company?
Hi, Yongbin. Yongbin, is it the same Yongbin that used to be at Landshark?
I don't know. Yongbin can answer. Yes, hi Kim.
It's my classmate.
Oh, here. Wow. Okay, okay. Sorry, what's the question again? I got distracted.
Okay, so the question again is how do indie studios attract good talent into the company?
Should I take that or how does that work?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. I think definitely we found that the portfolio of work is first of all important. I think growing a portfolio and for indie company is important because it does play a big part in attracting talents. But I think internally, if we have also that setup of what we can give, and that's what I've been trying to establish in the last few years. Growing the company or setting up the company, so to speak, is to actually put in proper HR, proper finances, proper, those groundwork that structurally holds a business, right? So that has also been our philosophy to make sure that we keep that underlying structure in place, so that as we hire in, we do have that the method of hiring good people. But attracting, I think it kind of goes both ways. It's not just us attracting you to be a prospective employee, but also us as a team, how we grow the team. We of course like to have good people, especially in a small team. We are very, very choosy in the people we hire. So you do have to show that you can bring on something less a specialist, but more kind of generalist with a specialty or interest in a certain area of work. So I think that's important for us as well. So showing that setting yourself into a AAA company is a lot different than in an indie company. I think as you join a smaller team, you are more of a generalist in the sense that our multitasker, as in we do get people to do other things other than their own area of work, so that they get an idea what it takes to own a product, to to support a product, because it's not just you doing the programming, just you doing the art. You have to see the product as a whole as well. So I think for us, our philosophy has been the holistic way of working as product, and that's very similar to a solo dev. I think we want to bring some of the solo dev experience to a slightly bigger setup, which is less than 10. So hopefully that comes through when we try to attract people or try to get people to join our team. Yeah.
For us, it's quite simple. So actually, I think I'd say, yeah, I agree with Kim. The portfolio of the company, the games that you make, will attract a certain crowd depending on what you make. And I think in that case, having a strong studio identity in various ways. So the kind of games you make, the art style, even the game design, usually there should be some coherency, especially if you're doing your own games. Attracting talent. So I think for Battle Brew, one thing that we do, that we definitely try and do, is that we try and maintain mind space, and relevancy. So if there's game events, we try and show up. If there's press opportunities, we try and do it. And then we usually try and gun for projects that are interesting in some way. But I think that's unique to all the studios. So all the studios will have a kind of thing that they generally want to make. And hopefully the people that you want to attract want to make that sort of stuff. I think the filtering that Kim mentioned is really important as well, but that's the second half of it. Not so much attracting talent, but filtering talent. So I won't really answer that. The other two?
Awkward silence. Edmund, go first.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I actually just typed my race. I thought I wasn't gonna answer this question. I answer it in the chat. So I'll be answering this from an employee point of view because I don't have a studio. So I when I'm looking at a studio, if I want to join them or not, I'll actually check what kind of projects they have released, they are working on. I try to find out what kind of company culture they have. You know, if they have like a high turnover rate and all that. I sort of depend on word of mouth. I check if anyone around me who knows this company and what they say about it. Glassdoor reviews. I'm not sure what you guys think about it. Then I would even like reach out to the staff of that company and on LinkedIn. I'll try to like message them, chat and try to find out, is how's their culture like, what are the bosses like, that kind of thing. So I just, sometimes we leave one place because there are things we're not happy about the current company. I just don't want to end up in another company having the same issue or worse. See.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's my turn now. So for us, right, because we're not doing like strictly like commercial games, so we do not have a big enough presence in the gaming side. But on and off, right, we do have like some outliers that do come from our kind of background, right? Developers or artists that come inquire us about like job openings, and I guess those are actually the better fit for us because kind of like what we do is we have the same skill set, but we also like servicing a different kind of clientele. So I think if we really need the people that think out of the box, right, they reach out to us like, okay, I decided to show interest in your studio because of like they understand us as a gamification company. We do different things, and we are not here to strictly do commercial games, but although like they also have an interest in that. So yeah, I think for us it's kind of unique. We are looking for people that think slightly different than just the game side. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks everyone for your answers. I hope Yongbin's question has been answered. I think we have time for one more last question, but I really like this question. What's the favorite game you've worked on, and what was the best lesson you've picked up from it?
Sean.
Man, Sabo. So I guess this is an interesting question for us because the first game that we started Battle Brew to make, we didn't get to finish. We didn't have enough cash and resources at the time. We severely underestimated it, and some business side things didn't happen basically. So we had to pivot, and we ended up making an idle clicker, which is not my first genre of choice, but that game saved our lives, so I'm very thankful. And then the game for Apple Arcade happened, and I think we're really proud of that. Managed to squeeze in some unique mechanics and pull off a game that's well received. It's still not the dream game, I guess, that we want to make. I don't know. It's hard to answer that question because I think as a creator, you're simultaneously proud of the stuff that you make, and at the same time, none of it matches up to what is in your head and your heart. Ideally, I'd say the current game I'm working on is the product that I'm currently most looking forward to and the one I'm most proud of. I guess that would be my answer for it.
Yeah, I already say Sean said it already. It's quite true.
But
there's no one game.
Yeah, Zitian, for you do services ma. So like, is there any difference between finding your favorite game which you did as a service versus like your own IP?
I would say our more the word that we're happy with, right, are the ones that the client actually give us more creative freedom And
Nice.
the worst kind is the one that they thought they had the better idea. When we tried to convince them otherwise, then we just got shut down. Okay, yeah, I was just bangla worker that part. You tell me whatever, I just do. I think, yeah, that's the difference. Like being creators, as long as we have creative freedom, and both of us and the client see is actually for the benefit of the project, and we move on together. That is, I think, is the win. And usually those products will come out much better than just listening to them.
Absolutely. Edmund, do you have any answers to that? No, don't have. You made so many games.
Yeah, I made a lot of games, but I won't say nothing stands out, but I love them all.
Nice. That's a great answer. Equality for all your games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think whatever comes out of us, I think for us is the same too. I think each one has its quirks, right? But I think for me, Zen Koei is definitely one of my favorites because it is a surprise. It's like one of those things that was never gonna make it out of the door. And you take a leap of faith and put it out, and you find an audience, like people all over the world enjoyed it, and I think that was a very pleasant surprise, and have to say, it's my favorite. I think for myself, Aviator comes close because it's always the first, right? So that's Zen Koei.
Yeah, so for those just plugging for Kim, Zen Koei, yeah, go and download Zen Koei 2 as well on your mobile devices. It's a really nice chill game, very beautiful game.
Yep.
So yes, with that, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you, Sean, for moderating. I hope that people that are watching this actually get something positive about it, and also a reality check. I think the panel did a really, really good job in giving the reality check, as well as giving the upsides and rewards of not joining a corporation. So thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.